What's up, guys? Kyle Spears, Matt Grimm here. Another progression meeting for you. I'm talking about an athlete that was prepping for a competition here. We're focusing in on one event specifically. It is a clean plus two front squats. We're just going to kind of talk about what we did to develop him over that cycle. Um, and then Matt has a squat endurance cycle that he went through with a client that actually, I think you said she ended up hitting a 20-pound back squat PR.
Yep.
Okay, so some pretty good squat cycles here for you guys. This, for me specifically, this client actually had one of the best training cycles I've ever had with a client. So basically everything we did worked this cycle, and it was really cool. We did some pretty creative stuff with him outside of the squat cycle. So I wanted to throw his template up here and just let you guys kind of look through that. And if you guys wanted to ask any other questions or get a full view of this cycle, just contact me and I can send it over to whoever would like to see the full cycle. But we had basically snatch, front squat, some front squat reposition work is what we're going to be going over. Burpee and deadlift development for a specific test inside of the competition that he was doing. PM is just touches on CrossFit again. Thursday rest day, Friday squat clean absolute strength, front squat absolute strength. That was again specific for the competition. Some fast twitch muscle fiber intervals specific to lower squat, which was again going to be in the competition / something we could have worked on for that day. That's just kind of a progression that I developed for some more powerful athletes and just getting them used to. If you think about 20.2, the constant movement of that, just getting them a little bit more used to hitting just repetitive rounds of work for sustained durations. I think most powerful athletes have higher fast twitch profiles. So the goal was just to try and make those a little bit more oxidative. If you guys are wanting, again, that's in his whole progression. So you guys can take a look at that if you want. Deadlift absolute strength, again, focused on the competition. Some aerobic maintenance. Again, I feel like long, slow distance and aerobic maintenance is very important for powerful athletes. I think they have to sit on machines for 60, 90, maybe even sometimes if you're up at the elite level for 2 hours throughout the year. Regardless of when or at what point in the season is in. Sorry. So that was in there that day along with some CrossFit. Flipping over to Monday, Tuesday, again, fast twitch intervals. He has some more aerobic maintenance in there. Again, focusing in on the squat clean and front squat. And again, some more burpee development. We wanted to give him an AM. So his biggest weakness is gymnastics. So we gave him an AM of just kind of some muscle up technique work with some gymnastics EMOM maintenance pieces. So kind of a little bit easier of a Tuesday for him with the gymnastics work and the aerobic maintenance. Monday's pretty demanding, as well as Wednesday's pretty demanding. Or Wednesday's a little bit more moderate. So that was kind of the cycle, the template. Again, if you guys want, just message me and I can send that over to you guys, the whole template over to you guys, or the whole cycle over to you guys. But 12 weeks long. The first thing we were really working on was developing his upper back strength. This is specific to what we did with the squat, but there was a lot of accessory work in there. Some T-bar rows, some bandit or some reverse dumbbell flies with thumbs to the ceiling, chest supported rows. Just really focusing on developing his upper back strength. I think we might have done some pec loosening in there as well. And that was a majority through the first 4 weeks, just to kind of open up the spine and then develop the strength in stuff like zombie squats and some of the paused front squats you're going to see here. So first thing we had was just 5x5 zombie squats, just trying to work repositional work, not let that chest collapse in the bottom. We had some squat cleans, 10 to 20 singles. I think he had tested out at a 310 max right before this, or maybe a 305 for the whole complex. So we were just giving him some really heavy touches on lifts this day. A little bit more central nervous system driven. And then again, some front squat 5x5. We had, when looking at his lifts, his his biggest weakness was his extension. So we were giving him a little bit more deficit work to try and work on that extension. Throughout the course of the cycle, it worked pretty well. We went from his extension being the weak point in his lift to his front squat being the strong point. His extension looking a lot better. It's just his pull off the ground is what's turning into his weak point right now. And as everything goes, once you fix one thing, another thing pops up. So it's pretty successful in that regard. So kind of worked on some deficit power cleans and some pause front squats this day. Again, the bottom position is kind of what we were trying to focus on strengthening, keeping that upper back pretty tight in that position. This client is very much like into linear progression. So we really kept this pretty similar throughout the first 4 weeks here. We didn't change much, just some simple volume progressions adjusted off of what he was telling us. So, here we instead of doing 20 singles, we went to 15 signals. I think that was what he was able to hit on a different day of the week. Tried to keep the weight pretty high on this day again. Just a straight on this day, it was just an intensity progression. Same thing here, just kind of intensity, but very, very kind of linear in how we progressed this. 4th week was a deload week. So had him build to a triple here, not a max unless he was feeling it. Complexes, 1 clean, 2 front squats, what he was experiencing in the competition, 280 to 290. Had him working on extension for the power clean. And then again, front squat just to a tough single, not working on, not a max unless he was feeling it. So from there, I think we had to switch some things up for his schedule. I think he ended work in the winter season and kind of changed jobs a little bit. So we ended up switching things around here. Front squats are on day 1 now, 10 reps with a 2-second pause. So a little bit more of kind of a volume building piece on these. Squat clean plus hang squat clean, just kind of working on a little bit more of his mid-range pull in here, just getting him some work on the hang as well. This is also going to force him to squat 2 times in maybe not the greatest position, which should help his front squat inside of that complex. We upped his squat clean. He was hitting those pretty consistently, so we upped it to 300 plus pounds. Usually he would float right around here. It wouldn't always be 300 plus. It would be maybe some days were like 295, right around 300, or he might get like 7 reps at 295 and then 3 reps at 300. So again, it was just kind of like getting some touches on that. Same thing. We wanted to work on the hang, just kind of building a little bit more power out of that middle of the pull. And then front squats, 6 reps with 2-second pause. So just some kind of undulating work here. Working on the front squats again, just had him build to a max and a power clean plus 6 front squats 6x6, just a really kind of big volume day for front squatting here. Based that percentage off of his A. Again, kind of some undulating stuff with 3-2-1. He responds pretty well to central nervous system touches, some volume squatting here. We went pretty heavy on this. Again, this is kind of his like central nervous system day. Front squats. So again, we were seeing that his limiter was the squat out of the bottom on now. His extension was looking good. His pull wasn't the limiter at this point in time, but we were starting to see that his squat was still the limiter. So we wanted to drive that front squat up as much as possible. So we actually put his front squats first, or we started to put some of his front squats first in this day, and then work on just kind of like squat cleaning tired. So I think that had some carryover into some of his lifts here. He had a pretty significant squat PR at the end of this cycle. So then we hit some work where he was doing, 3 reps at 245, 265, 2 at 275 and 280 times 2, 1 at 190, 185, 190, 18 total cleans, and then really focused in on the front squat work. So this is kind of some maintenance for him, and then really focus in and dial in on the front squat here. same thing. Then went back to some deficit power cleans here. Not a crazy high percentage for him. We just wanted to get, this was a little bit more technique based on this day. I think we were starting to get some days that were jumping around here. So we were kind of like switching days up. It wasn't a set like 7-day cycle for this stuff. So we were kind of just jumping around a little bit in the cycle. Hang squat clean plus full squat clean, 275. Again, just focusing on getting under and getting some squats under fatigue. And then we went back to some pause squats, 4x6 in the bottom with a 2-second hold. Same kind of progression the following week, front squats 5-5, 4-4, 4. We went away from some squatting on these 2 days. I can't remember exactly why we did that. I think it might have had something to do with work or the holidays or something like that, but I'm not 100% on why that was. But we just kind of followed that progression here, 5x2, 215, hang squat clean, full squat clean, 7x3 front squats, 3-second pause on the last rep. Then we started getting into week 9 here. We're starting to get a little bit closer to a taper here. Threw some more front squats in, 654, 10 complexes at 90% of his finishing attempt. So that would have been, I think he was trying to hit 310 on the complex, so 90% of that. And then just had him load up 10x2 front squats, heavy as fuck that day. Again, central nervous system driver was on this day. Had him build to a max in a different complex this day, 6x2, 6x4. Again, this is just kind of a primer, the 6x4, and then make them squat tired again in the 6x4. Kind of a interesting like progression there, but I've been playing around with it with some people who just kind of get buried by weight a little bit more, especially in denser metcons. So like heavier, moderate weight power cleans for them, making them squat a little bit more moderate into some like, or with the tempo into some pretty heavy squats, and just trying to get their central nervous system primed that way. So that was kind of what we were doing there. Again, front squats, 5-4-3, 5-4-3, just some waves for them, getting a little bit heavier than last week. This is where we started to realize his pull was kind of being the limiting factor. We linearly progressed that one progression, 255, 275, got a little bit heavy there. Then we did some banded clean pulls, knowing that his pull was starting to become the limiter. Pause front squats, 20 singles at 315, 3-second hold in the bottom. Again, just kind of getting pretty heavy with these squats. We were starting to notice that he was holding or hitting some prettier, heavier weights or higher percentages of his 1RM at this point in time. So we really bumped up those the percentages of what we were working with. Again, front squat, 10x2, squat clean, 4x2 at 295, getting pretty intense into the higher percentages, a little bit more intensity here, touching on some heavier weights 2 days of the week. Here we started to we're starting to peak him a little bit. We deloaded him. We're going to throw a little bit of volume at him, and then we're going to deload him again. So it's kind of an interesting taper. We're gonna see how it plays out. Right now, he's saying his body's feeling good. He's about a week out from competition, so I think it's going to work out pretty well. So just a little bit of a different taper than I've done before. I just kind of wanted to see how he responded to it. But he's building to a front triple here. I think he was like 5 pounds off of his 1RM on this one. I'm not 100% on that, but it was pretty, I know it was pretty close. Built to a max in the complex. He ended up hitting a 10-pound max or a 10-pound PR in the complex. He ended up hitting a squat clean PR, and then he ended up hitting a 20-pound PR in the complex. So pretty significant increase in weight there. 15-pound squat clean PR, 20 pounds in the complex. So pretty significant increase on those. Just some banded clean pulls there as well to increase the pulling capacity or the pull off the ground. Here's where we started to get into that volume a little bit more. So kind of gave him some heavier front squat or moderate weight front squats now. heavier squat cleans, and then really working on his muscle endurance inside the squat. And he's honestly been responding pretty well to tempo work, so we've been throwing that in a little bit more here. Just getting him used to some wall balls, because that's also one of the events that he'll be seeing. Last week here, pause clean pulls plus a clean, pause front squats, 3 reps every 2 minutes until speed of contraction slows, squat clean plus front squat clusters, just building to 295, relatively light for him at this point in time. We had him build to a max in the front squat. He hit a 15-pound PR on that. So his squat numbers went through the roof this cycle. And this is going to end up being Monday, just one complex at either 295 to 305, whatever he's feeling that day. He's just going to build to a triple and just kind of take this day or this week. This is the week leading up into the competition, so he's going to keep that a little bit lighter. So kind of started off a little bit linear and then got a little bit chaotic there. Some of the progression stayed a little bit linear, but a lot of this was just based off of kind of how he was feeling, and we were kind of looking at the results. But it ended up working out, and he ended up hitting 15-pound front squat PR, I think a 20-pound PR in the complex, and a 15-pound squat clean PR. So pretty sweet cycle for him. He PR'd basically all of the workouts that we were gearing him up for the competition as well. So pretty good cycle for him. But yeah, do you have anything on that, Matt? Or
just a few questions. So for when you had him do the Frankenstein and front squat work, did you need to give him any positional cueing to hit those positions, or was he naturally hitting those that upright driving into it position?
Yeah, is this the ones that you're talking about here, the zombie squats?
Yeah. Really just the positional work.
Yeah, there was. He sent some videos over. I think the biggest cue was pushing the chest into the bar. I can't remember exactly what the cues were that we gave him, but we did kind of chat about it a little bit, and we did give him some cues in those earlier weeks.
Mm-hmm. You said you were having him pull from a deficit to work on extension?
Yes. Yep. This one right here.
What was the thinking behind that? I haven't seen deficit, so increasing the range of the pull to focus on extension. I'm interested with it.
Yeah. So this is actually something, Dom, I'm sorry, I'm gonna murder your last name. But Dom, I'm not even gonna try. I'm sorry, Dom. But he showed me this, and it basically, I'm not sure where he got it from. I think it was some guy in Florida, but it basically just forces you to elongate your pull, and it really gets the bar into the hip. So one thing I've done in the past is like two power snatches from the deficit into 2 power snatches from the ground, just to try and get it to feel a little bit better. Or get the feeling of what it feels like to pull from the ground after a deficit and get it into the extension. Okay. But yeah, you're basically elongating the pull, and it starts to help you feel that pull a little bit better.
Okay. Cool. And then squatting tired, I'm a fan of that. Squatting tired, that can force that CNS to just fire a little bit harder, and you to learn how to recruit more motor units.
Yeah. There's I think for smaller athletes that are a little bit more powerful, that's something I'm going to be playing around with a little bit for them. Is just like one progression I ran with someone was, it was like 3x3 tempo at 3-3 like X1 or something like that, a pretty high percentage. And then we went and did at a heavier weight 3x3 with a pause in the bottom. So we're just gonna see what she can do with that and what happens there. So, but yeah, Dom Scalzo is his name. I apologize if I murdered that, Dom, but he's got he's really good at explaining Oli lifts to people. So that was something he showed me. And I've been using it for people as well. So cool. Right on. Matt, just let me know when to change the block here.
So This was coming off of the open. Something we saw we wanted to focus on was squatting endurance. And part of it was just kind of that mental grittiness of like, all right, my quads are burning, but they still work. So that's what we wanted to get at. So on this day we had we started off with just some tempo squat work. We were coming off of the open, so just starting to get back into some strength work. And we went through a little tester with 40 thrusters, 40 front squats, and 40 back rack reverse lunges at a weight that a little bit lighter to make sure that there was really no reason to put it down. That was my thinking. So throughout this, we kind of go a little bit of a tougher week on the quads, and then we back off a little bit easier, back and forth there. Part of it too, for that undulation was this athlete had a pretty stressful time with life and in job and school demands and such. So in order to keep it from being too stressful, there's a little bit of that undulation so that it wasn't just hitting that high intensity all the time. So working on up the volume a little bit, but also got a break in there with the toast bar on the second week. And then into week 3, wanted to start working on teaching how to just suffer with the burn and how to stick with it. So rather than like just being able to take a break, we went with an EMOM of, all right, 10 wall balls, 10 air squats. And honestly, when I put this, when I gave this to the athlete, I was expecting one of the minutes to fall a little bit behind and then get those legs back and finish. And the athlete gutted it out. So it was really cool to see that. That was really pushing themselves to a little bit higher capacity than they'd been demonstrating. So that was awesome. And with that, we also kicked off starting a split squat cycle. So working on a little bit of unilateral work coming off of the open was the goal there. And then if we jump into week 4, we dropped the reps on those split squats up to the weight. And again, we're hitting that endurance, that hang squat clean thruster. It has that hip extension right into the squat with another violent hip extension. It's a nice way to really get some spicy quad work in, pairing that with the lunges, and then all right, let's get into those wall balls and let's try and be tough on the wall balls. In the notes, I think the goal was to try and get the wall balls done in under 2 sets. So hit the intensity there, and then on to week 5. We kept with our split squats, still at 6 reps. Last week she had built up to 90 pounds, so I was asking to do a little bit heavier than that. And then now we're back to, all right, I want you moving as fast as you possibly can. So similarly to the EMOM, upping that intensity. So threw a time cap on it and a little penalty for as encouragement to work on that squatting endurance. So crushed the time cap there. So when we're pushing, she's finding that they can push a little bit harder. All right, on to week 6. We after getting those 90s, all right, let's build up to a 6 rep max on each leg, and those split squats ended up being a pretty good chunk. It was well over 100 pounds. Nice big jump on that split squat. So that's what I got started to think about, wonder what the back squat is. And then we upped the volume a little bit higher with our thrusters, hang squat cleans, and front squats, and we kept that at the bar. And then moving on to week 7. So now we're starting to shift gears from that split squat into, okay, we're wondering what that back squat is. Let's start prepping ourselves to give it a whirl. So with that, we then got into 5 rounds of increasing weight on thrusters and hang squat cleans with a little bit of break in between. So practicing moving fast and then seeing how much of that moving fast we could get to carry over at those heavier weights. Times didn't drop off too much. So that was cool to see. And then week 8, we brought back that test from week 1 of the 40-40-40 thrusters, front squats, and back rack reverse lunges. And those, I think it was a 45-second or so PR. So 8 weeks went from about 8 minutes to 11:45, or sorry, 11:15. So solid chunk, and it was just, and she said the difference was that she was just able to, even though like her butt started cramping on the reverse lunges, was able to push through. So that was a little bit of that goal with that quad endurance. It was muscle endurance, but it was also mental toughness with that movement. Right before that, in the back squats, that's little undulation there, getting those bigger jumps, and the back squats ended up leading to a double at well over 90%, and that looked strong and that looked fast. I had the video for that. So next week, all right, let's build up to a tough single on the squat, and knocked out a 20-pound PR, and that one still looked strong, looked fast. So excited to see what that squatting future is going to look like.
Yeah, that's sweet. So what I do know this athlete, they do have a little bit longer femurs. Is there anything specific that you do for longer femur athletes, or different cues that you give for longer femur athletes, shorter torso versus somebody with a little bit better squatting mechanics?
We spend a decent amount of time working for the best possible position we can. So working a little bit wider stance, as well as strengthening that midline and hip to be as upright as possible. But it only gets so good. So and that's probably the reason why that with the squat there were the glute cramps going into the lunges, is because that thruster and squat is a little bit more glute demanding due to the nature of the femur and the torso.
Yeah. When you say strengthening the hips, is that anterior hip, posterior hip?
Anterior mostly.
Okay, so like lower abdominal wall, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's I think everything I had for that. So some pretty successful squatting cycles here. As always, guys, if you have any questions, shoot us a message on Instagram. You can email either of us, Kyle at blacklistedhq.com, Matt at blacklistedhq.com. Either email. Yeah, we'll look forward to putting another one out for you guys here in the future. You have anything else, Matt, or? Okay, right on, guys. Good chatting with everyone.